Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are well, or well, it depends where you're watching in the world. If you're watching where Crystal
It's
is,
morning for me.
it's morning. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning.
Thank
How are
you.
you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and how's your week been?
Really great. Yeah, it's been busy. My kids aren't doing school stuff yet, so we are still in the throes of summer holidays. So
Yeah, yeah. So the idea to today, viewers, parents, was as we start to ramp up for going back to school. A lot of parents are telling me that they're concerned about uh, uh, what's going on in schools and COVID and the whole shebang, everything really. So what I decided to do was to put a shout out on my network to find experts in this area that can help you stress a little bit less, help your kids stress a little bit less, and give you some tips, insights, advice, whatever they think, from their expert opinion and their experience is going to be of most use to you, the parents, to make this September stressless. So one of the first people that put their hand up and volunteered is the lovely Crystal, and so why don't you introduce yourself, Crystal, and then we can get into the topic, and we'll talk for maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 25 minutes, because we know parents are busy. We want to give them as much value as we can in the time that we've got.
sure, sounds great. So I am a certified life coach. My name is Crystal. I run Coaching with Crystal Noel. I certified it through the Life Coach School. I also
Fantastic.
have an undergraduate degree in psychology.
Wow.
And I've always loved learning about people and why they do things and whatnot. And so I was actually looking into master's programs when I came across Brooke Castillo and the Life Coach School. And I loved her methodology. She does what's called causal coaching. And I just loved it. And it really fit with what I was looking for. So I certified through that. And now my niche is overwhelmed moms. So I help overwhelmed moms who are not enjoying their motherhood, who have a hard time with their kids, feel better about themselves and their motherhood.
Wow, that is so needed. I mean, I was on a call just before about a mum who has been through some really tricky stuff, and overwhelm. Well, in terms of overwhelm, us guys, I don't really understand the word.
Mhm.
Just gender differences, the roles that we all have. I don't. I wouldn't even dare to say I'm overwhelmed, bearing in mind some of the conversations I've had with mums recently. So let's try and lift a little bit of the overwhelm and try
Yeah.
and make life a little bit easier for these families.
Yeah.
I think that would be a superb thing if we can show them a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I think there's a few different things that I thought of when I was thinking about what I could say that would kind of lift that overwhelm and stress for them. And one is a lot of people are worried about, either they're going to have to homeschool or they're going to have to do school online, or they're going to send their kids to school where, there's masks and it'll be stressful for them. And these moms are kind of like stuck. They're stuck in this overwhelm and they're just like, I don't even know what to do because I'm so overwhelmed. And the funny thing is, if you were to like fast forward for a year, say in a year things are somewhat back to normal or whatever, they're going to do those things anyways. They're still going to send their kids to school or decide to keep them home. They're still going to cook meals. They're still going to clean the house. They're going to still do all of the things they always do, but they're not going to enjoy any of it because they're so overwhelmed and so stressed out. So it's kind of deciding like, this is what reality is. And instead of arguing with the reality and wishing it were different, and I don't like this, and I'm so mad that this is happening, just coming to the conclusion of like, okay, this is what reality is. Whether or not you've decided to homeschool, online school, or send kids fully back to school, like that's your reality now. And so
Yeah.
instead of spending the next year, worrying about it and being stressed about it and being overwhelmed by it, just accept that reality and then decide, okay, now how do I want to show up? Because I loved what you said in the beginning, like parents that are stressed and kids that are stressed, because those are two so correlated. Like if the mom is super stressed and super anxious about sending her kids to school or not sure if she should, it's going to definitely manifest in the child. The child's going to notice that that parent is anxious and stressed.
So the first thing that pops into my head is then, when you say that, is that I know some people will say, yes, I can see it. Wow. And the next thing will be, it's like, so it's for me, when I will start beating myself up about beating myself up.
Yes.
I will say, I wish I could, that sounds brilliant. Why can't I do that? Why can't I see this clarity? Why am I'm overwhelmed about being overwhelmed. And now you're telling me that if I'm overwhelmed, that's gonna have a negative impact on my kids. And you're supposed to be making my life easier, and instead you're making your life hard. Isn't this about being kind to ourselves? Is there anything? What's the? You're off the hook. Is there anything that we can do to kind of like? It's natural, and it's natural that you're going to be worried about worry.
So it's all about, I like to talk about self-compassion a lot. So it's all about looking back with like self-compassion. Like, yeah, I actually didn't ever think about it that way before. I didn't ever really realize that this was happening. Like I was doing my best. I am doing my best currently. And I always have my clients look back first with self-compassion. Like you were totally doing your best. You are doing your best right now. And wherever you're at is totally okay. And then to look back with learning. So if I'm looking back with learning, like, what are some things I could shift? What are some things I could change? How could I learn from what I've been through right now? Yeah. So I do think self-compassion is huge, because when we start judging ourselves for like, well, yeah, you're right. I'm not showing up in the way I want, but now I don't even know how. And now I know that I shouldn't be. Then what do I do? Then it's just going to be like spiraling in the shame cycle of like, I'm not doing good enough.
Yeah. Well, I've known that not about motherhood, because obviously I'm not a mother, but I've known, I talk about like a vortex or like a tailspin of rubbishy thinking, and all we can do really is, and then you got the parent guilt comes in, and oh no, and it's, oh, I've got parent guilt, and it carries the vortex. So I think that self-love, that kindness, that kind of breathe, not breathe as a strategy, but you do realize that everybody is doing the best that they possibly can at this moment right now. Everybody is, given what's going on in what's going on around us and what's going on in our head, we're all doing the best that we can. So cut yourself some slack, and don't take your foot off the gas. Would you say that? Take the gas of the self-doubt machine. I don't know.
Yeah, I call it the shame cycle. Like when you're in that shame cycle of like, I'm not doing well enough, like I should be doing better. The actions that come from that feeling of shame always just create more shame. You're like, well, now I'm just going to be more frustrated at my kids and yell more and be stressed out and be more anxious, right? So it's just noticing that. I think that the antidote for shame is self-compassion, is realizing like, I'm doing my best. This is what my best is. And so now what? And so I'm kind of thinking to the like, okay, so now what? If you can get out of that space, I usually have my clients write down their thoughts. So I call it a thought dump, but they'll write down all the thoughts that are kind of leading to those feelings. And they'll just go back and just like notice them. Is it really true that, I'm doing a terrible job, or that, my whole entire family is going to die, or all of these like catastrophizing thoughts that we as mothers have regularly? Like, is that going to help me show up, all day long if I'm so stressed and so worried and so nervous? So I usually have them do that in the morning. And then I talk also a lot about caring for ourselves, like taking time to truly do our own self-care so that we can show up in the way that we want to.
Yeah. So for me, the key thing from that would be the the truth thing. So is this true?
Mm-hmm.
Is the future that I'm making up, is it real? Is this really going to happen, or am I catastrophizing? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like is it a self-edit in the head, looking down at our thoughts? I guess
Yeah.
you talk about writing them down, so it gives us a little distance.
Yeah.
That really is giving us some distance between us and our thoughts, so we're separating from them. And if we separate them from them and we look at them written down, we've perhaps got a better chance of being able to judge this as the truth or not, compared to when I'm lying in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and all this rubbish is spinning around my head. There's no way. There is no separation between me and my thoughts. Whereas actually putting it down on paper gives us that separation, and then the separation, we can bring the thought out into light, look at the thought and see, is this actually true, or is it just
like for COVID, it could be a thought of like, my entire family is going to get sick and we're all going to die. Like that could be a thought that we're having. So we might look at that and then be like, well, I don't know if it's true. Like it could be true, right? Well, yes, there's true. It's potentially that could happen. The chances of it are extremely low, but it could happen, right? But we're spending 99% of our time on that extremely low chance, thinking about that and stressing about that. Well, let's also look at the opposite. It's also possible that maybe none of your family gets sick, or if they get sick, it's super mild and you guys are totally fine. And in a year, everything's over and everybody's great again. But we're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about that potential future. And so it's like, if you want to think about catastrophizing, for sure, you can do it, but spend equal airtime thinking about the potential future of everything turning out lovely.
Yeah. Could flip it. Yeah. So I guess the first part then of this is being a calmer parent, being a calmer mum, being a calmer dad, realizing that the catastrophizing voice in our head isn't us. It's not the truth. And looking at flipping it. So okay, so is this true? What's another truth? What's another potential outcome?
Yeah.
Is there anything more in terms of like the top? Because what we're trying to do here is prompt insights from the viewers, rather than giving them another whole list of things to do, because time is the shortest. You're overwhelmed, then time is of the essence.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I also thought about was our decisions, because I don't know what it's like in Europe, but in North America, you can choose whether or not you want to fully keep your kids at home and do homeschooling, whether or not you want to do online school through your school, or if you want to send your kids back to school. In most areas, those are the three choices. Sometimes you don't have all three. So what I've been seeing lately too is people spinning and indecision because they feel like there's a right choice. Right. But everybody feels that way. Like they choose one thing and they're like, oh, but we should have chosen the other thing, because those people look like they feel good about their choice. But the people over here, they don't feel good about their choice either. They're looking over and thinking, oh, well, maybe we should do that because they're feeling good about their choice. But the truth is, like, there's no right or wrong choice here. We have no idea. This is unprecedented. We don't know if it's a right or wrong choice, right? It's just making that decision and then just sticking to it, being like, I'm doing my best. This is the choice that's right for us. And just believing that whatever choice you make is the best choice for you, instead of spinning in that indecision of like, there has to be something right or wrong here.
Yeah. So if we were to move to the kind of, we're talking here essentially about chilling out, giving ourselves a break, checking what's going on on our head is true, and hopefully we're getting to a place. We're here today to show you the light at the end of the COVID tunnel and the back to school tunnel. In terms of and that, if we're more confident, if we're more grounded, if we're steadier in our approach, then we're hoping that that's going to rub off on our kids, and the kids obviously they're going to pick up on our calmness.
Yeah.
that, I guess that's step one, is we need to kind of be the change that we want, model what we want, in that. Is there, in terms of the specific, in terms of that's us, but what about our kids, and what about our relationship with our kids, and what about how we talk to our kids about this stuff, and if we're thinking, okay, so now I'm a little bit more chilled, now I'm ready to have a different conversation with my child about going back to school, and let's assume that they are going back to school because that is the likelihood, here in the UK. What can mums and dads do with their children in terms of helping them be more calm, be less stressed about going back to school?
I think the first, positive parenting, intentional parenting technique everybody learns is to role model that behavior. So like we said, like if we're more chill and we're able to kind of get clear-headed about it, that's going to be really helpful in kind of easing that tension. Because if you go into a room and like everybody's stressed, and then you kind of move up and you're stressed also, we're kind of trying to do the opposite. Like maybe our kids are a little bit stressed or anxious, and so we're trying to kind of hold that space and be that peaceful, calm energy, and try to kind of lower their energy. So as we're calm and not as stressed about it, that will naturally happen. But then I think just open and honest conversations. I love to do this technique where in the conversation, you're not trying to come up with a solution, but it's just communication. So you're just like, tell me all about your concerns. And you just listen to all their concerns, and they just listen to your concerns. In this situation, if you're already feeling pretty calm and clear-headed about it, all you can do is go there and just say, hey, tell me, like, what are you thinking? And if your kids are younger, you could say, like, what do you feel about it? Sometimes I ask them to give me like a color because they can't come up with necessarily a word. So I'm like, what is it like? Just explain it inside. Like, is it black or red or purple? Is it kind of like thick or sticky or hot or whatever? And as they're describing it, I'm like, oh, does it kind of feel like panic or like fear or stress? And for older kids, obviously they can communicate a little bit more clearly, but just saying like, what things worry you? Because maybe they're also catastrophizing. And maybe we can give them that same technique and just say, yeah, it's true. Like you could get sick. That could happen. But also it could be pretty wonderful. You could have an awesome school year, meet some new friends, do great in school, and have a great time and never get sick. So helping them kind of whatever we went through in our mind, we're going to kind of walk them through that to help us be regulating them.
Okay. So it's really giving them space and giving them space to share how they're feeling, so that we don't need to ask them those pointed questions. We're opening it up, and we're giving them the space for them to open up. But once we're in a calm space, on the kind of understanding that is, if we're coming from a calm space, they're more likely to come open up rather than shut down. So, I remember, I'm 53 now. My mum says, I just want you to be happy. So, but when I was a kid, I didn't, I was bullied pretty badly, but I didn't let on because they just wanted me to be happy. So when I was sad, I felt that I was actually letting them down by being sad. So you don't tell them what's going on. So this is obviously, things have moved on in whatever 40 odd years on this. It's that openness for them to get their feelings out into into a discussion, and then once we know that, we can kind of go with our gut, and we know our child best, and so that we can help them to a better resolution. Is that what you're saying?
It is. And I love what you said about I want my children to be happy, because the goal isn't for our children to be happy all the time, right? They're not going to be happy all the time. And so it's getting comfortable with their discomfort. Like, it's okay for them to have those emotions, right? It's not negative or positive or bad or good emotions. They're just emotions. And it's totally okay for them to be having those emotions. And so it's just us being able to be present and really open for anything that they want to throw at us, even if they're feeling sad or discouraged or whatever.
So how does totally right. So when I do work with, so I work with parents and I also work with kids. Historically, I've done a lot more working with the kids, but I say to them, look, you have 70,000 thoughts a day. So not every one of those is going to be a good thought. So I try and go with, I'm totally with you in terms of normalizing not feeling okay. It's okay to not feel okay. Hello.
Oh, my daughter just woke up and unlocked my door.
Hello.
Oh, she said she unlocked my door with a floss pick. Look at her go.
Oh, right. Wow. Fantastic. Yeah. What can you say? Ingenuity.
Yeah.
So what would you say about modeling that? So what would you say about modeling that though? Because I see a lot of, like my mum is 82, and she still tries to kind of protect me somehow from her negative stuff. So what would you say about put those two things together, the modeling bit, and it's okay. It's okay for you not to feel okay all the time. And it's okay for me, like that kind of vulnerability piece.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's okay for me to feel that way. It's not necessarily okay for me to like hit people when I'm angry. It's definitely okay to feel that feeling, but it's like modeling also how to process that feeling. So I teach a process of emotional processing to my clients, and I actually started teaching it to my kids as well. But it's kind of realizing like, where am I at? What am I feeling? And then just allowing myself to feel that emotion and just to kind of be with it. So then I can even tell my kids, like, you know what? I can't talk to you about that right now. I'm feeling a lot of anxiousness or stress. I'm just going to go and decompress for a minute. And you can even tell them, like, I'm just going to go and take some deep breaths, or I'm going to go and meditate for 90 seconds. I'm going to go on a quick walk, and then like, let's come back and chat about it, so that they have ideas on what they can also do to make themselves kind of relax and release those feelings. And then they see that it's totally okay. Like, I feel anger, I feel sadness, I feel frustration. And they see me responding in the way that I would also want them to respond. And so hopefully I'm teaching that through speaking, but then also more specifically through my example.
Yeah, because they do what we do, not what we say. Yeah. So well, I'm just looking at the time. We're doing 22 minutes. Is there anything else that I like? What's the question that I haven't asked that you'd love to answer? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I think another thing about this is that when people are making these decisions, like, okay, I'm sending my kids back to school and this is really stressing me out, that they're thinking about like the entire year. But I like to think of it in just like little bits. Like, let's just plan for the next 3 months. Like, let's just imagine that this is going to be our reality for even 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. How do I want to show up for the next 3 months? Because maybe it's overwhelming to think like, oh, I can be happy and calm and stress-free for the next year as my kids are going through this situation. But I can just be like, okay, let's just do 1 month at a time. How do I want to show up now for the next month? How can I help them over the next month? And just kind of brainstorm. Once you've done your thought dump and you're, feeling a little bit less stressed and less anxious, be like, how do I want to show up? How do I want to role model that behavior? And what is most helpful for them? And then just do that, reassess every month. Okay, where are we at now? Because maybe it won't be like this all year, right? We don't know. So, but thinking like it's going to be like this forever, or it's going to be like this for a long time, is going to add way more overwhelm.
Yeah. Okay. Break it down.
Yeah.
Okay. That's been fantastic. I think we're coming up 25 minutes, so that would be a great place to stop. Just before we sign off, can you give everybody your like, what's the best? Do they want to? Should people check out your website if they want to find out more about you, or find your?
I do most of my stuff on Instagram. I do have a website, www.coachcrystal.ca. But I post Monday mini trainings every Monday that talk about like just little clips of inspiration and tips for helping manage your mind. And that's over on my Instagram channel, which is Coaching with Crystal Noel. So that's where that's where I hang out the most, I guess.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link on coachcrystal.ca, and then people can get from there to Instagram.
Yep, there'll be a little like icon. Click on it.
Coach, as in overwhelmed mums coach.
Yes.
CRYSTAL.ca.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
That's great. So I'm going to, have I put that in? Yeah, it's there. Okay. So thanks a lot for listening. And I hope that, thanks for you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you all very soon, folks. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.